How's it going, guys? Jake from Boatman UK here. Today I thought I would cover a video on our Boatman Actor MK4i Pro. So this is our all singing, all dancing boat. So this has everything. It has sonar and it has the GPS, hence the reason why we call it the Pro model. So today I'll be going through an unboxing of the boat to show you what's included, what to expect, what to do next, so tips on maintenance, and a bit of a user guide as well. So we're not going to be putting the boat in the water or doing any use like that, but just sort of so you know what to expect and what to do with the boat should you decide to order one. So let's get into it and get this thing unboxed. Okay, so let's get this thing out of the box and show you what's included. Now, first thing you might find, depends on where it's located in the box of course, but first thing is your charging plug for your remote and for your sonar screen. The main thing itself, of course, being the boat. Now, today for this unboxing, I've just chosen to do a carbon one. Carbon's probably our most popular colour overall, I would say. We do also do these in a camo finish and also in a black as well. So you've got 3 colour options. Now, as for the boat, before I go any further and go for everything else, the battery for the boat is located inside the boat already, so you don't need to go digging through the box. If you pop off the lid like so, you'll find the battery located in there, secured in place with a cable tie, just to make sure that it doesn't rattle around and knock into anything whilst it's in transit, obviously preventing an expensive repair. So we'll place that just to the side for a moment. In this white box here we have the mains charger. This is used to charge the battery that's inside the boat itself. I'll place that there. We have our aerial for the sonar screen, which is actually for the boat itself. There are 2 sonar screen aerials, or sonar aerials rather. You'll have the taller, longer one for the boat, which screws onto the top of the boat, and you'll have a shorter one that screws onto the sonar screen. So these are really easy to fit. Simply just screw them on until he's just finger tight. Don't go too far because you can risk damaging the threads, damaging the aerial, rounding off the nut. So just finger tight like so. That's enough, that's fine. He's not going to come off there anyway. Of course, in this bag we have our sonar screen, and the sonar screen aerial as well is also inside the same bag. We have a microfiber towel. We have our remote. Then we've got a bag of goodies. In this bag you'll have, I'm not going to go and unwrap the whole thing, but we've got charging cables for both the sonar screen and the remote. We've got a spare pair of props. We've got a spare rear hopper latch. We've also got an Allen key and a little mini socket to change your props and fiddle around with a few bits and bobs as well. And lastly, in this box, we have 2 user manuals. We have one for the boat and we have one for the sonar screen. Now, I know we don't tend to read remotes. Most of us being blokes, we tend to just skim over those sort of things, but I highly recommend to at least read the sonar screen remote. The boat itself for the most part is pretty self-explanatory, and I'm going to cover most of that in this video. But as for your sonar screen with your colours and readings and depths and etc, highly recommend to read that instruction at least at bare minimum. So now that we've got everything unboxed, first thing you're going to want to do before you go ahead and use your boat is get everything charged up. Now, a little quick test in your local is going to be fine, just to get used to the boat, just to see what it can do. Shouldn't be a problem, but the boats and the remote and the sonar screen are only going to have part charge, and obviously you don't want to run risk of them running out of charge. Now, the battery indicator on the boat itself will tell you what level of charge it's at. Now, this is only relative to load, of course, so whilst it's stationary, the LED indicator may say 100%, it may say 80%, etc. But once you actually send the boat out, that's going to drop a little bit. You will, on this particular type of remote, it will also have a battery indicator for the boat itself on the remote, so you'll get a much better idea as to what status of charge you've got once the boat's in use. But to save yourself any grief, any hassle, before you use it, charge everything up. Now, to get the battery out of the boat is really, really easy. You can't charge the battery inside the boat, it does have to be removed. There's a little ring on the battery that you pull up and it slides out of place. Really simple. On average, your battery is going to have around anywhere between 50 to 75% charge when you first receive it. Charging time from completely flat is 10 hours. So it's a 10 amp battery. So by rule of thumb, we generally say an hour per amp, for example. But on average, if you're about half drained, it's going to be about a 5-hour charge. There's an LED indicator on the charger itself that will glow red whilst it's charging, and it will go green once it's fully charged. Most important bit of advice I'm going to give you is don't leave it on charge like too long. If you leave it on charge for a weekend, for example, or even longer than that, just in your garage, in your shed, you're going to damage the battery. You're going to make the battery go lazy, and it won't last the full time that it can do on a full charge, because it's going to get used to being on charge because of the type of battery that it is. Just make sure that you're pulling it back off charge as soon as it's charged. A couple of hours here and there ain't going to hurt it, that's fine, but the sooner the better, just to make sure you don't run any risk of damaging it. As for how long the battery will last on a full charge, it's usually 4 to 5 hours, so you're going to get plenty of life out of a battery. Generally speaking, that's normally enough for most part of a week. If you're going for a whole week to France, for example, it's worth taking maybe a power bank or even a spare battery. But in most cases, especially, but it depends on how lucky you are, how often you're having to send the boat back out. In most cases, that will usually last you a whole week of fishing, which is a very long battery life. Same again for your remote and your sonar screen. Make sure you're using the charging plug, charging wires that we supply. That's how it's all warranted. The charging plug, again, same as the battery for the boat, is rated for the correct voltage, correct amperage, etc, etc. If you forget your plug, make sure you maybe contact us beforehand and ask what type of charging plug that you need, because if you just use a random one or if you use it directly in an outlet, like a USB outlet, it's probably not going to be rated correctly. You're going to damage the batteries, and of course that won't be covered under warranty. Your battery on your remote normally takes around 5 hours to fully charge if it's completely flat, but you'll get plenty of life out of that. Your sonar screen on a full charge will last an hour. Now, I know that doesn't sound like very long compared to the rest of this, but this also charges significantly faster as well. And what you've got to remember is your sonar screen, you're probably not going to be using flat out for an hour. You're going to be wherever you are, mapping it out, figuring out your spots, saving those spots, and within an hour you'll probably be happy with the amount of spots that you've got. And of course, if you decide you want to look some more, for example, try and find some more spots, it charges quick enough where it's not going to cause too much of an inconvenience as well. Now, obviously, one of the really nice things about the Pro boat, having both sonar and GPS, is that you can obviously find your spots, find your drop-offs, your margins, your gravel bars, whatever you're looking for with your sonar, but then you can also save that location on the remote under your GPS, meaning that, obviously, if you're using just a regular sonar without the GPS, you've got to put that sonar screen back on to find your location every time, and it can be a bit of a faff, it can be a bit of a hassle trying to find that exact spot, especially sometimes when you lose your own peripheral. You know, you might not have a visual guideline to go by, especially if it's late at night and it's dark and you're trying to find a specific spot that you've baited up, for example. If you've got your GPS, you're going to go to it literally every single time, pinpoint within a metre, which, you know, in terms of GPS accuracy is probably one of the best out there. It really does make a massive difference being able to, you know, fish to a fine margin, especially with the actor itself. That's another nice thing. The boat itself being the actor, yes, it's got a smaller hopper, you know, payload capacity, and it's a smaller boat, but that makes it more nimble. So certain locations where you've got overhanging trees, real tight areas, you can get this boat in those tight areas. And of course, using your sonar, your GPS, you save those locations, the boat will go there. Perfect. Honestly, it really is quite a good bit of kit. It's almost, I would say, for some people would say it's cheating. Okay, so here we have our remote. Nice display on the screen, which is all of your GPS. So the other nice thing about the GPS on our boats is it's all integrated. There's no apps, no extra bits and bobs needed. It's all done on your remote. So this screen here displays all of your GPS information and all of your information about the boat, such as your battery life. So what we'll do is we'll start with the screen and we'll work our way down as to what each of the buttons do. So start with the screen. At the top left, you'll see there's some numbers changing. This is the amount of satellites you have. So this is all to do with your GPS satellites. 12 is the maximum number. 12 is what you want to be using the GPS at. It will take a couple minutes usually to get to 12, so this boat in the background just here has been on for around 2 minutes now, and as you can see, it's just hit 12 satellites. So that means you're going to be as accurate as you possibly can with the GPS. So as I mentioned a moment ago, within your metre of accuracy. So that's your satellite connectivity there. This here's your signal strength. This is the actual physical signal strength between the receiver, the handset, to the boat itself. On these you get 500 metres of range, so I don't think you'll ever be struggling or suffering with that. This here, this is a compass, so it currently is in P for part because we're stationary. If I'm moving forward, you'll see that will change to forward, left to left, etc, etc. Here we have two battery indicators. We've got B for battery, R for remote. So as you can see at the moment, the battery's got one bar missing, so that's currently at 80%. If I power this up, it may drop, it may not. At the moment it's not dropping, but once it's in the water you'll probably find that will drop a little bit more. Keep an eye on this. This will always tell you your battery health of both your boat and the remote. It will tell you how long's left essentially. Once the boat is low on battery with the GPS model, what it will do, if you've saved a home point, it'll automatically return to its home point if it's concerned that it's going to run low on battery to save it from being stranded out in the lake. And it will also beep at you and it will tell you, and it will be flashing in red. Headlight will be flashing at you. There's not much more it can do to tell you it's low on battery. All of this here now is all GPS information. So we've got three letters, we've got P, N and H. P is your position, so it's how far away you are from your save point or your save position. N is navigation, and that's how far away is from navigating to your selected spot if you're navigating. And then H is your home point and how far away you are from your home point. Currently we can see there's an M there, that's set to meters, but you can also switch to feet as well should you prefer. And I will go through how to save all this and how to save your home point and how to navigate in just a moment. That's all done on the buttons down here. And then lastly on the right here, we've got these two little logos with an N and an N next to them. These represent your hoppers. So you've got a centre hopper and a rear hopper on this boat. And when you ask it to navigate, you've got a full autopilot function. So you can ask the boat to go to a specific designated location that you've previously saved. And it will then ask you if it wants you to open the hoppers, and it will also ask if you want it to return home. Now at the moment these are set to no, so that means you don't want it to, but we can set that to yes, which we will do in a moment. We've also got 16 stored locations. As you can see at the moment, we've got no locations stored. So at the moment, I'm hovering over box number 2. You can see that little orange outline there. And if I use these arrows, it'll navigate between each of my save spots. So we've got 16 in total. And once that box goes purple, or green rather, sorry, green, that means you save that spot and you can navigate to that designated spot. And it will go purple or red depending on which batch of these boats you have. It will go purple or red once you're navigating to that spot. So that covers the screen. So we'll move on to the buttons now. So this button on the left here, this is our auto forward button. So if we single press it, you'll see that this engages auto forward, which means the boat will travel in a dead straight forward line. It is a multi-function button as well. If you press and hold, this will calibrate your compass, which has to be done in the water. I'm not going to go into calibration of compass, what that does. It's all covered in your manual, and I've covered several videos explaining what compass calibration is as well. This button here, the little flag, this is your home point. So if we press and hold him, you will see that our home point now says 0. If you single press it like so, it will switch between your meters and feet. So we're going back to feet here, and now we're back to meters. And a press and hold will save your home point. Now you can only save one home point, and this will tell you how far away you are from that designated home point. Using these arrows here, as I mentioned a moment ago, we can navigate between each one of our save locations. So I want to hover over box number 1. And if I want to save a point, I'm going to press this little pin drop here. And it'll ask if I'm sure. You've got two buttons. You've got the navigation, the same pin drop for yes, and you've also got this key for no. So we're going to click yes. And you'll see that no goes green. So that means that location is physically stored and saved. If I want to delete this location, say if you filled them all and you want to get rid of one, you press and hold that button, and you will see that that box now goes back to the normal colour, the white, which means it's no longer saved. In this case, what I'm going to do is I am going to save a spot. So I'm going to click yes, save that spot. And if you would, this is simulated as if you're on the water, which of course we're not. But if you wanted to navigate to your spot, this is how easy it is. You're using this little arrow here. This is your navigate button. And you'll see there's an option screen. So as I mentioned a moment ago, you've got your hopper option, you've got your return home option. So this is asking you, when you get to that spot, do you want me to open the hoppers and then do you want me to return home? In most cases, you're probably going to set this to yes. If you don't want it to, you keep it on N for no. And the only reason why you probably want to do it as no is if you, for example, were fishing a really fine margin and you wanted it just to get there and you wanted to do the rest of the work just to make sure you're in your exact location. If you want to change this to yes, you're simply pressing your hopper button. So pressing the center hopper button here, that will change that to Y. Pressing the rear hopper button here, that will change to Y. And then if you want it to return to home, you're pressing your home button as well. So as you can see at the moment, they're all set to Y. So if I press navigate now, the boat will then navigate to this spot. Once it gets to that spot, it would then open the hoppers like so, as it has done in the background. You can see those have changed. You can see the hopper doors have opened. And it will now return back to its home point, if it were on the water, of course. As you can see, it will memorise your last input. So the last time you change that in that sub option, it will memorise that. So for example, if I just cancel all this and go to navigate again, you will see that it's default to Y for all of those. And again, if you want to cancel that, if you don't want it to return home, if you don't want it to open hoppers, single press again, it will change those to N. There we go, we're back to as we were. Obviously, if you want to get off this screen, you're using the escape button here. Simple, really easy to use. This button here, as I mentioned a moment ago, is your home button. So if you want to return the boat home, single press and it will go back and it will return home for you. And again, also the function in the auto pilot as well. When you navigate on the GPS, single press and it will return back for you. We have our headlight button here on the left. The little headlight button is that one there. And then, of course, as mentioned a moment ago, we've got center hopper and rear hopper. And lastly, we have our power button. which we'll just press and hold and it will power the remote off. Next up we have our sonar screen, so I'm going to just power him up. Now again, I'm not going to go into massive details as to the sonar screen, especially as it's currently raining outside and I'm getting a bit soggy. You'll see your display on the sonar screen is live data across here, and that's another nice thing about the sonar on our bait boats. It's all integrated, it's all built into the boat, in the hull of the boat, so you're not towing a deeper out the back. So what you're physically seeing is live data, whereas with something that you're towing, what you're seeing is actually technically not in the correct location, if that makes sense. So it still works, but what you're seeing, you've got to bear in mind, is actually slightly behind the boat. So on here, as I say, if it was in the water, is all your information, all your live data. Here we have our depth reading, which can be switched between meters and feet again, so that'll tell you your water depth. You've got water temperature, you've got your battery indicator for the sonar screen itself, and the last few bits you don't really need to know anything about. That's your signal strength, and this is basically the kilohertz, what frequency it's locked into, something you don't need to worry about. Here we've got a couple buttons, 3 buttons, really simple to use. We've got our menu button, which is the tick, which will open the sub menu. If you want to get off this menu, you press and hold the tick and you'll come off the menu. If you want to navigate through the menu, you're using the tick again and you're using the down key. If you want to go back up, you're actually going to use the power button. So I know it's a bit confusing because they're almost reversed. So up is down and down is up, if that makes sense. But yeah, you're using the downwards arrow to go down through the menu. If you want to go back up, you're using that one. If you want to change a setting, so let's, for example, if I want to go up to sensitivity, which is set to 75%, and again, I highly recommend you read the user manual regarding any of this. If you want to change anything, you're then going to press the tick over what you're hovering over, which will then highlight it red. And you're using, again, these 2 keys to, adjust your sensitivity. So I'm going down, and now I'm going up. I'm going to set it back to 75%, and once I'm done, I'm going to press the tick again, and that will change that, and that will save that. And again, to exit out of the menu, press and hold the tick, and we're done. And to turn the sonar screen off, you press and hold the power button. Again, I would love to show you some more on this. I have done other videos covering the sonar and the data and all the information and the reading on the screen. So feel free, of course, to check out our other videos for full information on that. But that covers the basics of the sonar screen and the remote as well. Well, that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover in this video. It's very hard to find a point where to stop. I'd love to get it into the water and show you it under GPS and everything like that, but I have done other videos covering that. If I was to do all that in one video, I think this video would probably drag on way longer than I need it to. So hopefully this helps. If you've got any questions that I haven't answered, of course, feel free to ask them below. As I mentioned a moment ago, the Pro boats are our top of the range models, so yes, they're our most expensive, but having GPS and sonar really does have its perks. Now, this might not be the boat for you. If you're seeing this on YouTube, we do have a variety of other models of boats as well that you may or may not know about. You'll see in the description there's a link to our website. Feel free to have a browse across our entire range. We've got pretty much boats covering for or catering for pretty much every budget, every scenario, whether you're going for a European trip and you want something bigger, etc, etc. And I've also covered pretty much videos on most of our boats, which you'll find in our other videos as well. So as I say, hope this video helps. If there's anything I've missed, if there's any question you have, ask away below. And I think that's it, so take care.